In May of 2026, President Donald Trump traveled to Beijing, and during his meeting with Xi Jinping, he made sure to emphasize a very specific point. The United States was beating China in the global artificial intelligence race. The foundation for that lead comes down to hardware. American companies have nearly exclusive access to the highly advanced microchips required to train massive AI models, a supply chain that Chinese competitors are largely locked out of. But just a few weeks later, the US government forced the tech giant Anthropic to completely pull its newest, most advanced AI model, Claude Fable 5, offline. It had been available to the public for exactly 3 days. In a frantic attempt to protect its own national security, Washington abruptly severed access for millions of international users. This single decision alienated critical allies and inadvertently handed Chinese tech companies a massive, unearned advantage in the global market.
To understand the panic, we have to jump back to April 7, 2026. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell summoned the executives of America's largest banks for an emergency meeting in Washington. The executives were briefed on a new, unreleased AI model developed by Anthropic called Mythos. Unlike a standard chatbot, Mythos possessed a highly dangerous, autonomous ability to discover and exploit zero-day cyber vulnerabilities across secured networks. If weaponized, Mythos could systematically dismantle the software architecture that runs the US financial system. We're talking about the infrastructure underlying global payment networks, corporate payrolls, mortgage processing, and every ATM in the country. Recognizing the danger, Anthropic locked the raw Mythos model inside a closed cyber defense program. For the general public, they built a filtered, heavily restricted version designed to block dangerous requests. They called this safe version Claude Fable 5. But this highlights the core dilemma of modern AI development. The exact same capabilities required to proactively defend complex financial networks are precisely the tools needed to tear them down. Fable 5 launched on June 9th. 2 days later, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy placed an urgent call to the White House. Amazon's security teams had discovered a critical flaw. They found a method that allowed everyday users to easily bypass Fable 5's safety wrappers, giving anyone direct access to the dangerous, unfiltered capabilities of the core Mythos model. By Friday morning, the situation escalated to the absolute highest levels of the executive branch. Top national security officials scrambled to contain what they viewed as an active threat to national infrastructure. The administration immediately got Anthropic on the phone and delivered a staggering ultimatum. They had exactly 90 minutes to voluntarily take the model offline. Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, flatly refused. He argued that Amazon had misunderstood the severity of the flaw and insisted the safety wrappers were holding up. The Commerce Department immediately invoked national security powers to issue sweeping export controls. In an instant, it became a federal crime for any non-US citizen to access the model. This created an immediate logistical nightmare. Anthropic had absolutely no way to instantly verify the nationality of its hundreds of millions of active users. To comply with federal law, they had no choice but to pull the plug and send the entire system dark for everyone. Overnight, millions of individual users and international enterprise clients woke up, logged in, and found nothing but a blank error screen where the world's smartest AI used to be. The sudden blackout sparked furious backlash from foreign governments and corporations. These allies had spent massive amounts of capital integrating American AI systems into their own domestic infrastructure. The takedown exposed a terrifying reality for global markets. Total reliance on US technology means that a single unilateral security decree in Washington can instantly cripple a foreign nation's digital capabilities. That fracture of trust created an immediate market vacuum. International companies could no longer rely on American platforms to stay online, so they actively began searching for replacements. And China was perfectly positioned to capitalize. By stepping into this vacuum, Chinese tech firms began quietly capturing global market share, offering their own AI models as a stable, politically neutral alternative to alienated businesses. In the modern tech race, having a monopoly on the most powerful chips and the smartest models means very little if your international partners don't trust you to keep the servers running. Because the moment you pull the plug, you push them directly into the arms of your biggest rival.
3 days after Anthropic released its most capable artificial intelligence model to date, the US government restricted global access. Without prior notice, the administration imposed export controls that left researchers and corporate clients around the world suddenly locked out of the system. The White House ordered this move due to concerns that entities with ties to Beijing were using the model to study its inner workings. The fear was that Chinese developers could analyze the system's logic to replicate American breakthroughs. Specifically, officials wanted to prevent a technique called distillation. This process allows a developer to use the outputs of a sophisticated model to train a smaller, cheaper one. It effectively siphons off intelligence, drip by drip, allowing a competitor to build a comparable system without the multi-billion-dollar research costs. Washington viewed this as a targeted security measure. However, by abruptly cutting off a private company's global users, the US demonstrated that access to the world's most advanced software can be revoked at any moment by a single government order. The decision immediately unsettled American allies. The European Commission criticized the move, noting that it highlighted a lack of technological sovereignty. For European users, the incident proved they were operating at the mercy of a single foreign supplier's regulatory whims. Former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney issued a specific warning regarding this over-reliance. He argued that placing a country's economic backbone in the hands of a few American suppliers creates a massive systemic risk for everyone else. Former French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe argued that AI now functions as critical infrastructure, comparable to the electrical grid or the internet. Under this view, relying on a foreign power to manage that infrastructure creates a permanent vulnerability, as that access can be withdrawn at any time. This realization shifted the priorities of many nations. Countries that previously relied on American imports began a scramble for sovereign AI, software developed and hosted entirely within their own borders, to ensure it remains beyond the reach of US export controls. The US embargo strategy relied on the assumption that American systems were the only viable options available. This overlooked the speed of Chinese competitors like DeepSeek and Qwen, which were already narrowing the performance gap. These models use an open weights architecture. Chinese developers release the core code, allowing anyone globally to download and run the AI on their own private servers. Because the software lives on the user's own hardware, no foreign government or corporation can interfere with its operation. This chart shows the pricing gap for processing 1 million data tokens. While Anthropic's model cost $50, the Chinese DeepSeek system performs the task for 87 cents. This makes leading Chinese models nearly 60 times cheaper, providing a massive financial incentive to switch. By making American AI access feel unreliable and keeping the prices high, the United States made Chinese models the most logical choice for global businesses. The market began prioritizing systems that were guaranteed to stay online. This economic reality is already driving adoption. Massive Western institutions are moving their daily operations to these open systems, choosing cost efficiency and reliability over national security concerns. Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky confirmed that his company uses Alibaba's Qwen model for customer service tasks. His reasoning was simple. The system is fast and cheap, making it the most effective tool for high-volume work. The trend extends to the public sector as well. Reports indicate that even the UK government has integrated Chinese AI models into its operational frameworks, favoring practical utility over the geopolitical risks discussed in Parliament. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong projects that within 18 months, 80% of corporate AI tasks will run on these low-cost, accessible models. In his view, most companies don't need the most powerful system in the world. They just need one that is affordable and always available. Global organizations are increasingly choosing good enough AI that they can own and control. By attempting to gatekeep its advanced models, the US is losing market share to Chinese systems that are easier to integrate and impossible to block. Inside the US tech sector, the frustration is mounting. Industry leaders are watching the government restrict the global reach of its own most successful companies, effectively ceding the market to overseas competitors. Cybersecurity expert Alex Stamos noted that in Beijing, officials are likely laughing at the situation. He argues that the US government is actively obstructing its own technology leaders at the exact moment they are competing for global dominance. There is a clear divide in strategy. The American approach focuses on maintaining a lead in peak performance. Meanwhile, the Chinese strategy focuses on broad economic integration, making their AI the foundation for as many businesses as possible. Because these Chinese models are accessible and open, they are becoming the primary tools for universities, mid-sized startups, and researchers across the globe. This creates a deep level of integration that will be difficult to reverse in the coming decade. This widespread use represents a new form of technological soft power. By providing the tools the world uses to work every day, China is gaining significant influence over the standards and habits of the global digital economy. The U.S. strategy prioritized security through exclusion, which overlooked a critical reality of the technology market. When the top provider becomes unreliable, the rest of the world stops looking for the best system and starts looking for the most dependable one. By trying to lock its AI away, the U.S. didn't stop the competition. It simply drove the customers directly to it.